What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about the JL Audio D110 subwoofer. It's part of their Dominion line. It's their most affordable range of subwoofers. There's two models, an 8-inch and a 10-inch, and here today we have the 10-inch. Now, first I want to say, part of me on one hand is surprised we don't see more JL Audio subwoofer reviews because their subwoofers are amazing. But on the other hand, I kind of understand why. They just don't really send review samples to YouTube reviewers, and I'd like to see that happen more often. Because they're amazing. The only reason I'm reviewing this, because I bought this with my own money, just like I bought the previous JL Audio subwoofer I reviewed, the E110, is because there was a guy in my Discord who, he's been a follower of my channel for pretty much since the beginning now, right? Thank you for that. He has a pair of D110s, and he's talked to me about them a few times, and he loves them, and he's like, bro, you got to hear them, So when I was able to get my hands on this D110, I jumped on it. And I understand this man's passion about this subwoofer now. I totally understand why he loves his pair of JL Audio D110s. These things have incredible output, incredible extension. The start-stop behavior is incredibly quick. It's got the type of bass I think a lot of people are gonna love. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's throw the main specs on screen. You guys know I don't like to get into the nitty-gritty of all the specifications. But I will tell you a few standout features that I think are pretty cool. First and foremost is the size. This bad boy is not very large at all. The front baffle is only 12 inches wide. The subwoofer's 13 inches deep, 13 inches tall, and only 15 inches deep. That is not very big. So I would not blame you if you thought maybe this thing wouldn't have great extension or output, and that's where you would be wrong. This thing extended very low and was able to play incredibly loud in my room. It's a long stroke design, so this thing can move a ton of air. If I can figure out how, I'll throw a little video clip right here where you can see some crazy excursion, and if I can't, oh well, deal with it. Back to the size. I'll also throw some comparisons on the screen so you can see what this looks like compared to other popular subwoofers. But let's jump back into standout features. 750 watts RMS. That's a ton of power for such a compact design. This bad boy's $1,400 in the gloss black finish and $1,300 in the black ash vinyl. I say that's a standout feature because JL Audio subwoofers get pretty expensive. They have models costing upwards of $20,000. The Dominion line is their most affordable. This is essentially their second cheapest subwoofer. The cheapest one is the D108. And the odd thing with that one, it's only like 200 bucks cheaper. So if you're in the market, I'd recommend spend the extra 200 bucks and get the 10-inch instead of the 8-inch. Anyhow, some other standout features are going to be just the way this thing sets up. It's really easy to set up. You've got a positive or negative polarity switch in addition to fully variable phase. Of course, you have gain and frequency adjustments. I think that's mostly it for the standout features. The other thing I'll say, and I covered this in the E110 video also, just like the E110, this front piece you see that looks like it's a part of the cabinet, it is a part of the cabinet, but it's also part of the basket assembly of the driver. So this is a very rigid design. Real quick about the E110, there was something I failed to mention in that video, and if you haven't already watched my JL Audio E110 subwoofer review, I highly recommend you check that out because this bad boy gives you a lot of a similar sound for quite a bit less money. I did a ton of comparisons in that video, so I'm not going to really do any comparisons here. But that subwoofer has one feature that really makes it different than this bad boy. So we're going to do a quick comparison between the D110 and the E110 because they both have really incredible sound, output, and extension for how small they both are. The extra money you spend on the E110 gives you bass management that is very unique to JL Audio. JL Audio E110, all the E-subs, I think it's a E110 and E112 are the models. They allow you to high pass to your main speakers, low pass to the subwoofer, but that on its own isn't unique. There are other subwoofers that have high pass and low pass, generally at fixed intervals. On the JL Audio E-sub, that frequency knob continues to stay fully variable and continues to adjust the high and low pass frequencies. So if you want your high pass to your speakers to be as low as 40 Hertz, and the low pass to the sub 40 Hertz, that's just where you set the frequency knob. If you want it to be 80 Hertz, that's where you set the frequency knob. I thought that was super cool, and I'm really bummed I didn't realize it had that feature when I reviewed it. Now, I own the E110, it's my subwoofer. So I'm gonna go back and revisit that functionality. Maybe I'll make a separate video on in the future about it, who knows. Back to the D110. So, JL Audio, in my experience so far, with their two subwoofers, seems to me, this is a company that believes bass is all about being forceful, aggressive, a strong attack with a well-defined leading edge. It's a company that believes in incredibly fast start and stop behavior, because that's exactly what this subwoofer does, and it's exactly what the E110 did. If you want really detailed listening impressions, check out the E110 video. Like I said, these two subwoofers are really similar. So if you're tight on cash and can't swing the $2,300 price tag of the big brother, well, it's not really that much bigger, it's just a more expensive model. The D110 gets you almost all the way there for $1,000 less. The bass is so forceful, so powerful, and from such a compact enclosure. It's one of those things, you know, it sucks because on one hand, you can only describe bass so many ways. I've sat here and told you guys a ton of subwoofers had impact and dynamics and good start-stop behavior and so on, that without hearing it, it's hard to describe what sets this apart from other subwoofers. And it's funny because I've seen Thomas in Stereo kind of run into the same thing. You know, if you guys are fans of his like I am and you've seen a lot of his content, you'll see at some point he reached the point where he started saying like, hey, I can tell you this speaker is like sharp, open, airy, but I just described like 50 different speakers there. So instead he tries to tell you about what it's different at, what stands out, what makes it different compared to the competition. And I'm going to copy Thomas in Stereo and try to do that here. So when most subwoofers have good start-stop behavior, what I'm usually saying is they weren't slow, they were able to keep up with the main speakers. When I say this has good start-stop behavior, it can do that also, what I described right a second ago, but it does it with an immediacy and a forcefulness that is immediately noticeable. When I tell you other subwoofers have strong attack and a strong leading edge, that's what I mean. But when I tell you this one has strong attack and strong leading edge, it has more than just about any subwoofer I've heard. Now, look, let's be clear. When I make these comparisons, it's apples to apples, right? I'm not saying this has a stronger attack than something that's 18 times its size, right? I'm talking about things that are similar in size, similar in price, similar in spec, right? So it really comes down to the forcefulness of the presentation. It seems like JL Audio is a company that believes that bass is something that should take you by surprise. Bass is something that should make you go, holy crap, when that bass kicks. If you want a subwoofer that is both tactile, impactful, chesty, but also deep, extends low, and has good rumble, all with good speed, good transient response, all with good mid-bass articulation. If you're an audiophile, that's what JL Audio brings to the table. Now, if you're wondering how it compares to SQ subwoofers like the likes of Rel or Rhythmic, I already covered that in the JL Audio E110 subwoofer review. So you're gonna have to watch that if you're interested in that, because like I said, the D110 is a lot like the E110, not just a little bit. It's a lot like it. They are so close, I'm not surprised a 12-inch model doesn't exist, because the Dominion line only comes in 8 and 10, then the E subline comes in 10 and 12. And I'm pretty sure the reason a 12-inch version of this doesn't exist is it would just be, I think it would just outperform the E110, you know, and would be really close to the E112. So, is it worth it? Hell yeah, it's worth it. This is like one of the things that just took me by surprise more than anything, because think about it from my perspective. I got this guy that I've been talking to for a couple years now in the comments section of my YouTube channel, and any opportunity he gets to tell me how good his JL Audio D110s are, he tells me. So these things were hyped up in my mind quite a bit, and I was still really, really impressed by them. Let me see if I can do some comparisons for you guys, but I'm not sure it's really going to make sense, because like I did a bunch of comparisons in the E110 video. Let me think about this. I'm going to be candid with you guys. If you want comparisons, watch the JL Audio E110 video. I already covered all the comparisons I would think to do. What we've got here is a scenario where you've just got to decide what characteristics of bass matter to you And if it's this, then this is the one you get. Some of you guys want a subwoofer that can do everything. At least that's what you say. Let me be clear, that's not what you want. You think that's what you want. There's no way that every single metric of bass matters to you. It's just not possible. What's more likely is you think you want all the metrics of bass to be good, but there's really only a few that really matter to you. Let me give you an example of what kind of customer this is for, what those few metrics are that really matter to you. If you're a customer that believes that your bass should be incredibly strong and incredibly impactful, chesty and deep at the same time, that's at the top of your list. You want to keep your eye on JL Audio. If you believe a subwoofer should have incredibly good start-stop behavior and incredibly good output for its size, JL Audio is one of the brands you definitely want to look at. All the other things, like its handling of delicate passages, yes, it's not going to be as good as a dedicated SQ design, but it's still quite good with delicate passages. It's not terrible at it, right? It can blend with a slew of speakers. I tried this subwoofer with speakers as small as my Polk Reserve R100s, and it blended incredibly well, and speakers, you know, much larger like my Focal Canton #1s that cost $8,000. And the subwoofer integrated well with everything: the Bucard S400 Mark II, Dynaudio EMIT 10s, Focal Aria 906s, you name it. The subwoofer can integrate like a champ. So, I hope I've helped you understand JL Audio as a brand between my two JL Audio subwoofer reviews, because it's a brand that doesn't have a lot of coverage, and that's a shame because I think it's the type of bass most people really want. I've said this before in other videos. I do believe most customers are SPL customers, and JL Audio makes the finest SPL subwoofer I have ever heard in my life. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm not just saying that. There's no affiliate link down there. There's no, this isn't, I don't, like, this is mine. I bought it with my own money. It's not like a review sample I get to keep at the end of the video. I got no reason to gas these guys up. You know what I mean? They're just another random company to me, and anything they make that I can buy if I want it, you know? Maybe not the $20,000 model. That's kind of crazy, but you know, any of the single driver Fathoms, I can afford those if I want to buy those. I'm just telling you the real deal truth here. JL Audio impresses. You know, now there are going to be those that are on the total other side of the spectrum. Let me give you an example of who this is not for. You believe bass should be something that comes from an ink black background. It should be something that enhances the presentation, but never draws attention to itself. It's something that just enhances, adds nuance, detail, still has incredibly good start-stop behavior and things like that. That description is not JL Audio. We're now describing a pure SQ focused subwoofer, something like a REL T7X or a Rhythmic F12, right? Or, you know, let's say you say, and it doesn't have to be just SQ or SPL. There could be like just unique metrics that matter to you. You might be a customer that's like, you know what, I live in an apartment. I want a subwoofer that can, you know, at low volumes is going to sound really good and give me crazy extension at really low volumes. Okay, we just described the KEF KF92 or KEF KC62. That's the one thing those two subs are really good at. Don't get me wrong, they're really good at other things. But those two KEF subwoofers are in just crazy low extension at low volumes. They're so good at it. You know, let me think of another good example. You know, because what I'm trying to help you guys do here is kind of sort out the mess in the mind. Right? Because all of our minds tell us we want everything. We're all like these real like consumers at heart, but we don't, you know what I mean? We don't. Let's see here. What's another good subwoofer I can use as an example? Okay. Let's say you say that you don't care about the leading edge. You don't need it to be necessarily very well defined on a subwoofer. That's just not something that matters to you. In fact, you prefer the edge of the bass kick to be softened and just more thick and juicy with a bit of exaggerated low end. You know, maybe you listen to a lot of rap music, for example. You like that more like rumble, exaggerated low end, but you like it to have a good amount of control and authority. You don't care so much about note-to-note distinction, but you want it there. You don't want a monotone subwoofer, right? And size isn't so much a concern for you. You don't really care to have a compact subwoofer. In fact, maybe you want something larger. You think it looks good in the room. Well, I just described an SVS PB2000. That's what you're in the market for if that's what you want, right? And this is what we got to do, guys. We've got to determine those few metrics that matter to us and then find what subwoofer fits those metrics. I already told you what this does. You want something that's compact, has a lot of output, a lot of extension, incredible start-stop behavior, strong attack, can be chesty and tactile, but still really deep and punchy with its extension and output. JL Audio D110. Boom, done. Now, if you want that at half the price, too bad, nothing exists, okay? Nothing exists. Every now and then I get a question like, what's like this but cheaper? Nothing. Nothing. It costs money to make something like this. So I think that's about as much as I want to talk about JL Audio's D110. It's a great sub. I'm happy I own it. When I first bought it, I was convinced that, you know, both the D110 and the E110 were just something I was going to buy to review, and then I was going to sell them when I was done with them. And now, after hearing them, I've got to keep one of them here as a reference point. I mean, I just told you, it is the finest SPL subwoofer I've ever heard. How can I not keep one of them here as a reference point? I just don't know if I want to keep the incredibly rare and now discontinued white color E110 I own, or the more compact and cute D110 that I have here. I own both of them, but I got to sell one because I can't keep both. Who knows? We'll see. I don't know. I know some of you guys are wondering if I'm ever going to check out their more expensive lineup like a Fathom. I don't know if I will, because I'm just not curious about it, and usually I review things that I'm curious about. I was curious about this because it was really, well, it was their most affordable lineup, and I wanted to see what JL Audio's cheapest lineup could do, and as I've said like 15 times now, I was super impressed. And then the E110, it was just in high demand in the Discord. A lot of the guys in the Discord asked for it, and I don't usually take a lot of feedback on this channel. But the guys in the Discord, I've grown to be like super tight with them. And if I could bring them the content they're looking for, that makes me happy because we're kind of like a family up in there, you know? And that's your cue to join the Discord. It's free, you know what I'm saying? So if you like audio, you like hi-fi, you like this channel, you like my vibe, and you're looking to vibe out in a little chat room, join the Discord server. It's totally free. But I'm gonna be honest too though, like if you're kind of toxic, take that shit somewhere else. This is really not the place for it. You know what I mean? Like, this is not the place to come and try to prove somebody wrong, try to flex your ego, talk down to someone. If you join this Discord of ours, this group of ours, I want you to talk to everyone the same way you would talk to a good friend, with courtesy and respect. You know what I'm saying? Anyhow, I digress. Good subwoofer. I'm happy with it. I'm definitely going to ask JL Audio for a review sample at this point. They'll probably tell me no. It's all good though. It is what it is. I wish them a ton of success because they make good stuff. But I think honestly they're more focused on their marine division. And if any of you guys are into boating and you go to the river, the lake, whatever, you're into boats, you guys know. Any boat over $100,000, JL Audio. They all have JL Audio sound systems in there, you know what I mean? And it's not uncommon to bump into guys at the river or the lake that have these nice boats that have these JL Audio sound systems that thump, and you're like, how much did you spend on your sound system? And most of these dudes have spent like 20K plus on their sound system. JL Audio kills it in the marine audio world. So I just wouldn't be surprised if home audio just wasn't their biggest focus right now. But I hope that shifts because, look, I'm gonna shut up. I'm just repeating myself now. If you got any questions, ask in the comments below, ask in the free Discord. Let's chat about it. Until next time, later.